first order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. So, the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Has anybody received any correspondence? I have not. Anybody? No. Okay. So the minutes were sent around to everybody. Thank you, Katie.
Yeah.
And can we have somebody make a motion to approve the minutes? Anybody?
I move that we approve the minutes from our October 2020 meeting.
Great.
I'll second that.
Perfect. Is there any discussion with regards to the minutes? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great. Opposed? Abstentions? So that passes. 6-0. We can see you now, Abby. Who's good? So the next is old business. And the first item is what other communities are doing for communication, best practices. I don't know if you got it. I did do a little investigating and sent around a spreadsheet today. I don't know if you guys got it or not. I sent it early afternoon with what a lot of the towns are doing. I think, Stonington and Old Saybrook had links to social feeds on their websites, but nobody else did. Ledyard linked to social, like the Twitter, like the different logos, and they were live to, I want to say Twitter was live and Instagram was live, but like YouTube went to it was an empty link. So it wasn't really, it wasn't accurate. A lot of town, Groton didn't have any. Preston and East Lyme do have Facebook pages, and a lot of the towns had different departments would have a Facebook page or a social page. And then I figured out as I was doing it that if you type in like town in Connecticut, it lists them all. Like you could kind of see them come up. So that's the list below, and where I could tell how many followers there were, I put them there. And these were strictly government accounts. They weren't like almost every town had, a constituent account, like the Stonington and the Groton, with usually thousands of users. So, but they're not government. They're not official town accounts. So I don't know if anybody else had done anything or looked at anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Kristen, we're going to look at Instagram.
Yeah, I looked on Instagram. Specifically, I had looked into a few towns, and then once you sent that list over, I looked a little more into the towns that you had mentioned. For Instagram, it seems like we're kind of ahead of the game. Most towns don't have a town Instagram account. Like you said, Ledyard on their town website, it had a link to Instagram, but when you clicked it, it was a dead link. It didn't go to anything. It circled back up to the top of the website. So they're pretending to have one, but they don't actually. So it seemed Groton had one, but it only had 7 posts, historical photos of the town. It's not really using it to get information out. Westerly didn't have one. North Stonington had one, but it posts about once a month. It's not quite as active, I would say, as the Stonington one. And then, so yeah, it seems like we're kind of ahead of it. Westerly didn't have one. Ledyard didn't have one. Montville didn't have one. Preston did not. Similar to what you were saying, both East Lyme and Old Saybrook, it's more categorized. So, for example, the public safety department will have its own Instagram, or the Parks and Rec department will have its own, or the police department. So it's a little more siloed in that sense. There's not kind of just a general one for the town. So. Oh, you're muted. Or at least you're on mine.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other input with regards to other communities? Okay. So I think in moving forward, one of the things we also discussed was scoring review sheets for research purposes. And we probably should have a discussion about it just to kind of, I think it also has to do with how the committee is going to come together and really too early to discuss presentations, but just how we're going to, what we're tasked to do and how we're going to do it. So I don't know if we want to put together some kind of all-encompassing scoring sheet with regards to social and communications, and kind of try to figure out how, what that might look like. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to add that I was researching the town website, and I did some research on the social aspects of what we got currently going, and I just have some suggestions as I was making some comparisons on what categories might be added just to enhance the website and the social chains.
Yeah.
I don't know where that could factor in, but I have a whole note, like maybe I should just type these up, and should I add them to your current spreadsheet or maybe start something different?
I know we had that Google document up with our contact information. I can take what I have and put it on another page, and maybe you can add yours to another page, and we can kind of keep an ongoing diary of what's going on. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, I actually have some info too that I was able to get the insights from Stacy from the Instagram. She sent me like screenshots of how many like male versus female versus the followers, where are the followers from. So I have all that information. Yeah, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
Is she who handles the town Instagram? I was going to ask that.
Yeah, Stacy does that. Yeah.
So is that from the like Instagram insights, like all the analytics? They got it.
She sent me like a couple screenshots of it, like not so much about the posts because I didn't want to bother on a Sunday. Yeah, because she's like, "This is what you need." I'm like, "Yeah, this is good for now." But like I just like briefly like if in to sum it up, like most of everybody is from or obviously Stonington or Westerly, and 75% and about the majority between 25% are 35, 45, and the rest are 45 to 55. So it's not like a younger crowd, which is kind of interesting. But
It's interesting,
yeah. So you say 75% are male?
Pardon?
Did you say 75% are male?
No, 75% are female. 25%.
Oh, that's what I was like, wow. I was going to say, I'm very surprised. Got it. Okay.
So, but I can just like, it's just a little brief thing. So I can just send that to you, Bruce, so I can put it in the document.
Yeah, I think putting it in the document would be great.
Perfect.
Did everybody see that, right? And I know it was set up when we got sent a link to it.
Oh, I will put the link to the Google Doc, which all of you should be able to, the folder, and then you can load up docs in there.
Great.
But I'll send it to you right now in the chat. Would that be okay?
Sure.
Or maybe, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And then as far as the scoring review sheet, I think it may be a little early to try to, I think maybe we can, I would suggest that in that document, the Google document, that maybe we can start trying to outline, as we progress, how we are, how we're going to, why we're scoring, how we're scoring, what we're trying to communicate through in the final product to, to get across. So I think that will have a lot to do with how we score things and what needs to be scored, and the kind of scales and things. Does everybody agree or have any input or? Okay. And then, so Eva, you just went over the social media posts for Stonington, right?
Sorry. Yep. So that was just for Instagram. I wasn't able to get it from Facebook, but what I did notice though is like most of the, I'm sorry for my children in the background, but
that's okay.
I did notice just looking over it that most of the most popular posts were posts that actually offered information about things that were going on in the town. Like the earthquake got a ton of interaction, a ton of engagement, while other things kind of just are lost on people. So just to give you like some background about me, like I used to do Instagram and social media for Thornton Vineyards for 5 years when I was there, and then I do it for our family business now. So I'm kind of like familiar with what gets people interested and what kind of keeps people going on. So like the biggest thing that I can think of is like consistency, you know, with like what I was looking at, but it's so hard. If Stacey does the Instagram, she's got her hands full with everything. So that's just like off the top of my head. Like when we were talking the last meeting, I'm like, I can tell you right now, in my opinion, like the town needs somebody to do it. It's a full-time job. Like, I mean, especially if they're going to be doing Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, because once you like keep that standard, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, so I apologize. But once you keep that standard of communicating with people, you have to keep it up and consistency. So I'm just sort of now for us to kind of think about that in the back of our mind, like while we're doing it.
Yeah. It's really valid. I think that, even like talking about like the Mystic Chamber and the social posts that they make and that businesses make, it's hard to stay consistent. It's hard to keep quality. It's hard to keep attention and keep to certain standards. And you're never going to please everybody. And there's going to be posts that are made that are going to get in somebody's, wheelhouse that they don't really particularly like. I mean, I think even Dan, like with the seaport and stuff, like the businesses are well represented here, and I think that it's if you want to do it right, there's a lot of things that you have to look at in order to make sure that, like you were saying, Abby, you don't bite off more than you can chew. Like you have to keep a certain standard up, and you want to. You can't you have to post. You want to keep postings up. You want to be relevant and interesting, and then you look at like government and how interesting can it be. If you're trying to get across, meetings or what's being discussed by the selectmen or economic development or new economic development in the town, because you saw like with the post about the hotel, how it got so many comments and it was so divisive. Part of it was divisive and split. So I think the town has to ask itself how deep they want to go and how much they want to veer off of just agenda information or those kinds of things, and do they only belong in economic development posts or whatever. It's a lot when you try to spice it up. So Katie, did you look at the town's website?
Yeah, so I did some more exploration of the town website, and I thought there were some interesting things that could be added. For instance, on certain towns like Groton or Westerly, for example, they had tabs that listed about the town, like about the town and the history of the town. So if you're looking as on as a visitor, things to do, places of worship, tourist attractions, historical sites, like that sort of those sort of elements might kind of boost the website's appeal to reaching broader groups. And let's see. Oh, Chamber of Commerce. I noticed we didn't have that. And maybe hours of operation. That's not listed anywhere. And I thought that might be useful tab bullet to be put onto the website.
Thank you.
I have a whole comprehensive list. So instead of just shooting it out at you like this, I'd be happy to just kind of put that in the Google Docs. But I thought it was interesting. Just what's there is great, but what could be added could make it so much better.
Right. I looked at the same, and I noticed on the Westerly website, there was a tab that was "How do I," and it kind of streamlines if you're going on there just to get information about how do I do X. I really kind of liked the way that was. I'm sure the information is on the Stonington website, but it definitely wasn't as clear of what you're trying to do and where to find it. So I agree. Like the information is probably there, but I liked the way they had it organized. If that made sense. It seemed a little bit more user friendly.
Thank you. Was there, I had written on the agenda, email outreach from First Selectman, content format outreach. And Danielle said she couldn't make the meeting. She had another meeting going on. Maybe she was going to provide it, but I'll see if we can get you. Is anybody familiar with if there's any in Stonington?
I'm not receiving it if there is.
Yeah. Okay.
There was something I looked on the website and it said to get, notifications and the newsletter. I filled out today, put my email on it, so I don't know.
Right. There is on the front page of the news of the website, it says email, and you can get email alerts. And this is if you want to get updates from the town right to your inbox, please send an email to update sign up, and we'll add you to our email list. So I guess the question is whether that's something that could become, be boosted throughout not only the website, but in other places.
Mm-hmm.
It also seems like a funny way to do it. I was like, oh, I have to email them to say, put my email on your, like it should be an audit, like you just put your email in and submit.
Right. Exactly.
It seems like most of the time if I'm on the website and it asks me, even foolishly, anyone to go through that extra step, people are going to be like, oh, I'll come back to it, and won't.
And I'm not really sure exactly what they what type of email service they use, whether it's like Constant Contact or one of these other things, but this does it. And then when you do want to get an email alert, if you want to subscribe, it's a pretty long form, and then you have to check off what you want to get alerts from. So I think it could be a little bit more intuitive.
I'm looking at it right now. It's really long.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
And there, I mean, good golly, if you got meeting updates from all of these and meeting agenda updates, would be pretty crazy.
Yeah. I guess it's good that they break it out.
Right.
Well, it sounds like we need to do some investigation on how that actually operates and who's fulfilling those requests. From our experience, having it that detailed is great, but supporting it on the other end can be challenging. So I'd be curious how they're doing it right now.
I'll see if I can find that out from the folks there. So in terms of Stonington, I think we've got a pretty good idea of we've done some investigating there. There was a talk of a potential survey. Dan, did you have any input for that?
Yeah, I did a little bit of sort of initial thinking about how we might want to do it. And first of all, I started with who are our constituents that we want to make sure we reach. And obviously residents, number one. I think we'd also like to come up with business owners and managers in the town as well. I think town staff we should talk to them as well. And I know this is another bullet point, but also figuring out how we're going to do it to other commissions and committees, what's working, not working for them.
Yeah.
And I also, between now and our next meeting, I'd like, with Danielle's blessing, to maybe start doing some phone calls to select employees of the town, if she's okay with it, just to say, how are things working, and what are you getting contacted with that people seem to want to know and seem to have a little bit of a hurdle behind, or what is your sense of what do people really want to know, and maybe everything's fine in certain areas and we need to tweak some others, which is most likely the case. And I started looking at just different ways once we decide we have a survey, residents, that'll be Facebook, town email, the town website, all that type of stuff. I think the Mystic Chamber and also the Westerly Pawcatuck Ocean Community Chamber could be a good source for business outreach. And again, maybe there's a town staff email when we have something set up. And that might be, we might want to consider doing a separate survey for them as well. Hadn't really gotten too much further than that. And I saw that you, I forget if we talked about this last time, but I think just setting up some virtual, maybe this communication out to them as a survey, but it's also a virtual community conversation, as we say over in the EDC. And those have been really very, very constructive for that commission. So I don't know if we talked about that, but seeing that on the agenda, I think that's a great idea. We should plan on scheduling a few of those in the new year. Some people can come or not come, but people have the opportunity to, in a very friendly, open, deliberately open, no agenda way to just say what works, what doesn't work. Please tell us. That's what we're here for. So I think that's a great idea. I'd like to plan on moving forward with those as well. Now that's pretty much where I am at this stage. I hope to do a lot more work before we get to the next meeting.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan. I think it's interesting to talk about whether you just want to do, if you want to have like a Survey Monkey type survey, or if you want to have a bunch of focus groups, like where you just put it out there that we're having them, and try to get the feel from people, and whether, like you said, it's a combination of both. But I think that what do you guys think?
I have a logistical question. So I had an informal conversation with Lynn Young and regarding Board of Finance and the opportunity to engage the Board of Finance, and how do they communicate? How are they, really sort of not marketing, but sharing the information that they have with the public and asking questions. And so she was very interested in participating in a conversation. So based on that, would it be, maybe we could start a Google document that has the kinds of questions for the different constituencies that we would want to ask, and also the sort of the medium. Is it is it a video conferencing? Is it a Survey Monkey? And can we do that in Google Doc over the course of the next month? And then each of us participate and share and add information, make comments on the document? Question mark.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
I think the more we can sort of identify the questions that people have, then it'll really help us sort of drill down on what we want to do. So as we collectively come up with something, let's just get it down and we can all take a look at it. And hopefully there'll be some trends there that we're all gonna observe that we know we need to pursue.
Right. And then we could share, so I'm maybe jumping ahead to my report, then we could actually share it with all of the other town committees and have them give their feedback. So that becomes sort of the next iteration. And there will be some committees that don't want to have open office hours, every 2 months, or don't want to participate in providing, information that's coming up that can be shared on social media. But at least everyone will know the types of sort of outreach and communications that we're thinking of collectively. And if everyone wants to do a particular initiative, then we know that that's a winner, and we can sort of allocate our time and resources to focusing on that initially and testing it.
Great. I was going to say I think also we need to figure out the level, what the town wants to get, what they want to get across. So for the town of Groton, I always thought it was important that people knew what was going on, what was being discussed on the agendas for the town council and the Board of Ed and the city of Groton too. So that if something, because you weren't always following, the agendas aren't delivered to you. And so by delivering the agenda to let's say your Facebook feed, it was a Facebook thing, you could glance at it and say, oh, there's nothing this week, but they're talking about something that's of interest and they want to be involved and see how it votes or make a public comment or something. So there's that basic level, but there's also the list from the town where there's scores of things that you can get information about, and trying to, figure out what you want to make public and then how you get it to them. And, so I think as we, in the first few meetings, as we begin to kind of figure things out, try to develop the different ways to communicate how, there's just so many different variables. Because I think theoretically one could argue that you could even use the Stonington forum to communicate because there's so many people on it. But again, they may know, I think sometimes there's stuff posted on there, but, and you don't have a control over it either. So that becomes a negative for it, I think, as well. But there's a lot of, there's a lot of cake to pick apart to figure out. So I think the discussions that we're having right now and the information that we add to the Google Doc will help shape, how we end up.
Sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Oh, no, I envision like the town communication, like the Instagram, the social media, to be where people should go to first. I think now people, like, that's what you do kind of. And I think that if they utilize that, they could cut down, like, that's a great way to communicate. Like, for instance, this is a silly example, but at the Y, they always post when they're closed, when they're open. So instead of me calling there to be like, are you guys open? I just go to the page and I check. And that's what I feel like it should be like for the Stonington page, because even when I was looking at it for the analytics, like the most popular posts were the ones telling people, like the earthquake, the COVID, the COVID, the graphs and everything. Those are they're obviously going there to get information. They're not going there to like look at memes and things that are funny. They're like, I think it's supposed to serve a really practical purpose. So I think that it's totally underutilized, and then it's like, you could use the forum to get people in it, but I think that the page has to have a very like neutral, positive, and we all know that forum is, I don't know, that forum scares me, to be honest. But that's just my sort of 2 cents about it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I agree, Abby. I think that it needs to be kind of, and the reason people would go to, Instagram, it's streamlined information. It's not, the chitter chatter. It's they want to just get the information.
No opinions, like this meeting's tonight, and then you can see, like, going like one step further, people are so visual. So if you're like you were talking about the Board of Finance, so it's like if they had the Board of Finance graphic, it looks like that when they're sharing information. So people can either say, oh, that's the Board of Finance graphic, I want to look at that, or they can just go buy it if they don't care. Or, like the COVID ones, like they started off with that graph, so it looks the same every single time. So like I know it catches my eye and I read it every single time. So it's just sort of, again, that consistency is just huge. It's just huge. So.
I'm really sorry, I have a barking dog in the background. Thank you, Abby. So with regards to the old business that we've discussed, I think there's we've all understood that we're going to go to the Google Doc and load some stuff up and continue to develop the information that we're getting. In terms of things that are coming out from this, Dan and all of us will figure out the survey and the focus groups. Maybe I can talk to Danielle and find out, like you were saying, if we can talk to some of the employees and department heads to see what they're doing and get information of what they're doing and what they think would be helpful. And maybe something can be sent out to them from her and they can respond back, and then we can, follow up and have more discussions. Does anybody have any comments they want to make with regards to the old business and conversation? All good? Okay. Does anybody have any new business?
I do. I'm fine with, trying to start all of the meetings, which I do 15 minutes ahead of time. But if there is somebody who's comfortable with WebEx, just in case I have a client commitment or there's something I can't make it to start the meeting, would there be somebody else who could be a backup for me?
Anybody home?
Is Anne? I thought Anne was on it.
Anne didn't come to the meeting we had with Stacy, And she just couldn't come for some reason. I'm not really sure exactly why. And I have no problem managing the whole thing, but and even, setting up the meeting link, et cetera, but I'm just concerned that if I cannot start the recording, the only person I have as a backup now is Stacy.
Okay. I mean, I can learn, Denise, if I need to.
Okay,
that's fine.
it doesn't take. I mean, if you use Zoom or WebEx, I mean, it's not hard at all. Just to have another physical body who can start it. It records into the cloud, so it doesn't really matter. Okay. All right.
I can figure that out. And Anne did email me before the meeting and said she had something come up and couldn't make it and apologized. So for this meeting. Okay. So any other new business? Okay. I don't think there's anybody from the public on. And the only other would be with comments from the committee. Anybody have any additional information they'd like to share or comment to? All right. Well, it was a good, not too long a meeting, so that's good. We will, I'll send out a planner for December. I'm not sure how close to Christmas it will be, so we'll see if we need to change it. And I would imagine that things will get more kicking in the new year, that we may be a little bit slow to the draw in December, but hopefully when we get into the new year, we can turn it on a bit. So I think everyone would understand that. So with that, if you just need a motion to adjourn. If anybody wants to.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you. And I'll second. There we go. Perfect.
Yay.
Well, thank you, everybody. All those in favor of adjourn?
Thank you, guys.
All right, great. Thanks, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, you too.
Thank you.